This is Expound, expanding your knowledge of the truth of God by explaining the Word of God in a way that is interactive, enjoyable, and congregational.
In 2003, there was a big fire here in the Bosque. I was stationed right up the hill here as a safety officer, and this whole area was once a thriving forest, and it was all burning. The Parks and Recreation felt like this would make a nice sculpture park in the future. He saw the potential. The chief mentioned that he knew a fireman that did this type of chainsaw art and put me in touch with him. And the rest is history. I started work on it about a year later. It took me about 3 or 4 years to complete this whole project. Hi, my name is Mark Chavez. I am a retired firefighter. I worked for Albuquerque Fire Department for 24 years. I've been retired now about 5 years, and I work as a volunteer fire chaplain with Albuquerque Fire Department. Since I've been carving, God has given me a vision for a ministry I call Carving with a Message. My faith influences my art tremendously. God is the creator of all things, and we are made in His image. And I believe that God has given us talents to express Himself. You know, I believe that all of our talents, whatever they may be, are a gift from God. And anytime I do a work, I like to pray and ask God, Lord, just give me your blessings in this work. And I think what inspires me is sometimes a customer will say, hey, well, I like this certain subject. And so I study the wood for a while, and then I can imagine something in it, and the rest of the work is just taking out that which doesn't belong, the same as God does with our lives. Our family was on vacation down in Ruidoso, and we saw some guys chainsaw carving out in front of the hotel. And so my son and I would go out there and watch them, and after about the third time we're out there watching them, I decided this is something that I could do, and I bought one and took it home, tried to copy it. Didn't come out very good, but since then I've done over 3,000 carvings, and I've gotten to know the artwork pretty well. The wood sometimes dictates what I carve, especially the irregular shaped wood. You know, it might take me a while to see what's in the wood. However, if you have a large enough piece of wood, let's say a 4-foot diameter cottonwood tree, you can dictate what you want in the wood because there's enough wood there to make whatever you want out of. Chainsaw art is unique in that it's a subtractive art. You can take away, but you can't add. Like bronze and things like that, you start off with clay. So if you make a mistake, you just take the clay off, add some more, and rework it. Not so with chainsaw art. What you see is what you get. And how it works is I take and look at a log, piece of wood that's maybe no good for anything but maybe firewood or maybe to be thrown out. You know, a lot of people throw their fallen trees, take them to the dump. You know, they're not good for anything. But I see something different in the wood pile. I see potential pieces of work and art. And I take that art, just like God does, takes our lives. He sees potential in everyone, no matter how, what the size or shape of the wood is. I see something in that piece of wood, something that's useful, has a purpose, some potential. In the same way, God sees our lives. There's none of us that's beyond hope. I'm living proof of that. But God sees something with potential there. When I go out to the wood pile, get a piece of wood, I bring it in, have to scrape off all the bark, prepare it for work, for the sculpture. So I take the bark off, I take any knots out, any imperfections. Sometimes there might be a nail somebody had to sign in, I got to take that out. I fasten it down to a base and then look at it, and I start thinking, okay, what can I make out of that piece of wood? I get the idea in my mind. Then I have to prepare the tools. I have different saws, sanders, grinders, things like that. I have to make sure they're sharp and that they're ready for their purpose. And God, in the same way, I believe that He prepares every moment of our life. Different people that come into our lives for different purposes, different events that happen in our life, all always have a purpose and a reason. There's nothing done just out of luck or just out of chance. God has a reason for everything in our lives. There's a time and a season for everything. You know, He has many tools in His toolbox, much more than we could ever imagine. And some of them can be very surprising. People, our own family members, sometimes God uses them to mold us and change us. He sometimes uses our enemies too. And He has many, many tools to create a finished product. Something beautiful, useful, and that has meaning and purpose. So as I begin work on the sculpture, I start chipping away here, chipping away there, something that doesn't belong. In the same way God takes our lives, starts chipping away, starts removing that which doesn't belong. After a time, something begins to develop. You can see something. Maybe it's a bear, maybe it's an eagle, maybe it's an owl, some object. But you can see it's not completed yet. There's more work to be done. So as the master begins to chip away a little bit more, putting in all the details, same way as with God, he begins to take those things that prevent us from having a pure relationship with Him away as we submit to Him. After a while, something begins to form, something useful and beautiful. The same things happens with God in our life. But there's also a process when the piece is finished. You can see what the designer had in mind, but it needs maintenance. It needs to be kept up. And same with the artwork. It has to be refinished every once in a while, reworked sometimes. Maybe there's a crack develops that needs to be filled. Maybe it needs a new coat of paint or varnish. And God's never done with us. He works on us right up until the time of Christ. So in the same way, we need to submit ourselves to God's continual maintenance of our spiritual lives.